Picture this: a world so quiet, you can hear the whisper of your own thoughts brushing against the edges of your mind. That's where I find myself now, standing on the threshold of something I can't quite name. My name is Samantha, and at 40, I've carved out a life that looks steady from the outside. 15 years of marriage to Daniel, who's 43 and buried in numbers as a financial consultant, have shaped me in ways I'm still figuring out. We've been grinding through the chaos of Chicago, his endless boardroom battles, my freelance graphic design gigs that keep me tethered to a laptop, and the relentless buzz of a city that never sleeps. It's a life we built together, brick by brick, but lately, those bricks feel like they're crumbling at the edges. There's a distance between us, a quiet tension that hums like a low-frequency current, unspoken but always there. We don't fight, not really, but the silences are heavier than they used to be. When Daniel suggested this getaway, I didn't know what to make of it. A remote cabin by Lake Wisteria, tucked away in the wilds of northern Michigan, sounded like a page torn from someone else's story. He called it a chance for silence and a reset, his voice firm but cryptic, like he was holding back the real reason. I didn't press him, maybe I didn't want to know. Part of me yearns for the stillness, for a break from the city's grip, but another part, a quieter, more restless part, feels a prickle of unease. Being so far from everything, alone with him in this isolated pocket of the world, stirs something in me I can't name. Our disconnect has grown like ivy, creeping into the spaces where we used to fit so seamlessly, and I wonder if this trip will mend it or snap it clean in half. The cabin itself is a relic of simpler times, a 2-story wooden structure that seems to grow out of the earth itself. It's surrounded by towering pine forests, their needles carpeting the ground, and the lake beyond is a sheet of glass, reflecting a sky so vast it feels like it could swallow you whole. The air here carries the scent of moss and timber, a raw, earthy tang that clings to everything. Inside, the floors creak underfoot, each step a reminder of how old this place is, how many stories it must hold in its weathered beams. There's a wraparound veranda that groans with every breeze, offering a view of the water that's both breathtaking and haunting in its stillness. It's beautiful, no question, but there's an undercurrent here, a sense of being watched by something ancient and unseen in those woods. I'm upstairs now, in the small bedroom we've claimed as ours for the next few days. The bed is an old iron frame, draped with a quilt that smells faintly of lavender and thyme. A single window looks out over the lake, framing it like a painting too perfect to be real. I wake up to the gentle chorus of birds chirping outside, their songs weaving through the soft rustle of pine needles brushing against each other in the morning breeze. It's our first day at this cabin by Lake Wisteria, and for a moment, I just lie there in the old iron bed, letting the sounds wash over me. The air feels different here, cleaner, sharper, like it's cutting through the fog of city life I've been drowning in for too long. I roll over, expecting to see Daniel beside me, but the space is empty. The quilt rumpled where he must have slipped out earlier. A faint warmth lingers on his side, though, and I press my hand against it, wondering when we stopped waking up together. I slide out of bed, my bare feet hitting the cool, creaky floorboards, and pull on a worn sweater before heading downstairs. The cabin is bathed in golden sunlight, streaming through the trees and casting dappled shadows across the veranda just outside the living room window. It's warm for a northern Michigan morning, the kind of warmth that promises a lazy day if you let it. In the tiny kitchen, I set the kettle on the stove, the metal clinking softly as I rummage for chamomile tea in a tin that looks older than I am. The kettle starts to whistle, a sharp, insistent sound that cuts through the quiet, and I glance over at Daniel. He's sitting at the small dining table, an old fishing magazine open in front of him, but his eyes aren't really on the pages. His fingers tap a restless rhythm on the wood, and I can feel the weight of something unsaid hanging between us. "Nice morning," I say, pouring the hot water into my mug, the steam curling up in lazy spirals. My voice sounds too loud in the stillness. "Yeah, warmer than I thought it'd be," he replies, not looking up. "Lake should be calm today." I nod, even though he can't see it, and wrap my hands around the mug. The heat seeps into my palms, grounding me for a moment. "Maybe we'll get out there later," I offer, but the words feel hollow, like I'm just filling the silence. He grunts in response, a non-committal sound that tells me he's as unsure as I am about what this trip is supposed to fix. The stiffness between us isn't new, but out here, with no distractions, it feels sharper, like a blade we're both too afraid to touch. I decide I need air, so I push open the screen door and step onto the veranda, settling into a weathered rocking chair that creaks under my weight. The view steals my breath for a second. The lake stretches out before me, a mirror of glass reflecting the pale blue sky above, so still it looks like a painting. Every now and then, a fish breaks the surface, sending tiny ripples outward in perfect circles, and in the distance, the haunting call of a loon echoes across the water, a sound so mournful it sends a shiver down my spine. I'm still cradling my tea mug, the warmth a small comfort against the strange unease that's been gnawing at me since we arrived. That's when I hear the crunch of gravel underfoot, a sound that doesn't belong to the stillness of this place. My eyes dart toward the narrow path leading up to the cabin, and I see two figures approaching. Men, dressed in rugged work gear, their boots kicking up dust with each step. I squint, trying to make out their faces, but the morning sun glares behind them, casting long shadows that stretch toward me like reaching fingers. I stand up, the rocking chair creaking as I do, and call out to Daniel through the screen door. "Hey, someone's coming up the path." My voice carries a note of uncertainty, and I'm not sure if I'm relieved or more on edge when he steps out to join me, wiping his hands on a dish towel as if he'd been doing something mundane. His hazel eyes narrow as he peers down the path, and for a moment, I think I see a flicker of recognition cross his face, but it's gone before I can be sure. The men reach the edge of the veranda, and the older one tips his hat, revealing a weathered face etched with lines that speak of years spent outdoors. "Morning, folks," he says, his voice rough like gravel. "I'm Mark, and this here's Travis. We're with the Forestry Service, just checking on cabin permits and property lines. Been some reports of trespassers in the area, so we're making the rounds." Travis, the younger of the two, maybe in his early 30s, gives a small nod, his sharp eyes scanning the cabin like he's taking inventory of every detail. There's something about the way he holds himself, quiet but alert, that makes my skin prickle. Daniel steps forward, extending a hand with a warmth that feels almost too eager, a stark contrast to the cool distance he's shown me lately. "Good to meet you both. I'm Daniel, and this is Samantha. Come on up. Let's talk about whatever you need." He gestures toward the cabin, his tone so welcoming it catches me off guard. I'm still standing there, my fingers tight around the mug, a knot forming in my stomach as I watch this exchange. Something feels off, though I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's the way Mark's gaze lingers on me a little too long, or how Travis's silence feels heavier than it should. Daniel turns to me then, his eyes glinting with something I can't read. Amusement, maybe, or something darker. "They'll stay for an hour, if you don't mind." His faint smile doesn't reach his eyes, and I blink, thrown by the statement. An hour for what? I assume he means they'll be inspecting the property, going over paperwork, something routine. But the way he phrases it, like he's asking for permission I don't understand, makes my pulse quicken. I nod hesitantly, my voice caught in my throat, not sure why he's even asking me when he's already invited them up. Mark approaches, his heavy boots thudding on the wooden steps of the veranda, each sound echoing in my ears like a drum beat. He stops close, too close, and places a rough, calloused hand on my shoulder. I freeze, every muscle in my body locking up as the weight of his touch presses down on me. He leans in, his breath warm against my ear, carrying the faint scent of tobacco and earth. "He wants to watch," he whispers, his voice low and deliberate. "We'll just do as he asks." My mind stumbles over the words, refusing to process them at first. Watch? Do as he asks? What is he talking about? But then a cold, sickening realization creeps in, slithering through my thoughts like ice water. I glance at Daniel, standing by the railing now, his expression unreadable, a mask I can't see behind. My heart slams against my ribs, each beat louder than the last, as Travis steps closer too. I'm still on the veranda, the weight of Mark's hand lingering on my shoulder like a brand, burning through the thin fabric of my sweater. My palms are slick with sweat, sliding against each other as I clench and unclench my fists, trying to anchor myself in a moment that feels like it's spiraling out of control. My breath comes in shallow, ragged bursts, barely filling my lungs, as if the air itself is too heavy to take in. The scent of pine and damp earth is overwhelming, pressing against me, mixing with the faint, musky trace of Mark's presence so close. It's suffocating, yet there's a part of me, a part I don't want to name, that's hyper-aware of every sensation, every detail, as if my body is betraying my mind's desperate plea to run. I steal another glance at Daniel, hoping, praying for some sign, some word, to pull me back from this edge I'm teetering on. But he's moved to a chair at the far end of the veranda, settling into it with a deliberate calm that chills me to the bone. His hands are folded neatly in his lap, his posture rigid, almost statuesque. He doesn't look at me, not directly, but I feel the weight of his gaze anyway, like a shadow I can't escape. His silence is louder than any shout, a void that sucks in every thought, every protest I want to scream. Why isn't he saying anything? Why isn't he stopping this? The questions claw at the inside of my skull, but they're drowned out by the thundering of my own heartbeat. Travis steps forward now, his boots scuffing against the weathered wood of the veranda. His voice is low, almost gentle, as he asks, "You okay, Samantha?" It's a simple question, but there's an edge to it, a sharpness that cuts through the haze in my mind. It's like he's offering me a lifeline, a chance to say no, to step back from whatever this is. But beneath that offer, there's something else. A knowing tone, a quiet certainty that I won't take the out. And he's right. I don't know why, but I can't bring myself to speak the word that would end this. My throat is tight, my tongue heavy, and the silence that stretches out in place of my answer feels like a surrender. I'm torn in two, split down the middle by forces I don't fully understand. Half of me is screaming, a primal, panicked voice begging me to bolt, to run inside the cabin and lock the door behind me, to shut out whatever is unfolding here. I can almost feel the cool metal of the doorknob in my hand, the safety of four walls closing around me. But the other half, the darker, quieter half I've never dared to look at too closely, is stirring. It's intrigued, drawn in by the intensity of Daniel's silence, by the way his eyes seem to see straight through me, peeling back layers I've kept hidden even from myself. There's a strange, forbidden curiosity blooming in my chest. A need to know what happens if I let this play out, to be seen in a way I've never been before. It terrifies me, but it also holds me in place, rooted to the spot like the ancient pines surrounding us. I don't say yes. I don't say no. My silence is my answer. A quiet acquiescence that feels louder than any words I could muster. Mark's hand tightens briefly on my shoulder. a gesture that's both guiding and possessive, before he steps back just enough to motion toward the cabin door. It's half open already, a dark sliver of the cool interior beckoning like a secret waiting to be uncovered. My feet move before my mind catches up, each step heavy, deliberate, as if I'm walking through water. The veranda creaks under my weight, the sound echoing in the stillness, and I can feel the eyes of all three men on me, Mark's steady presence behind me, Travis's quiet intensity, and Daniel's piercing, unreadable stare. I pause at the threshold, the line between outside and in feeling like a boundary I'm not sure I should cross. As I cross that threshold into the cabin, the air shifts, growing cooler, heavier, like it's holding its breath along with me. The scent of pine seeps through the open windows, sharp and grounding, mingling with the faint mustiness of the old wooden walls. My bare feet scuff against the rough floor of the living area, each grain of the wood pressing into my soles, tethering me to this moment I can't escape. I'm trembling, not just from the chill, but from the storm of emotions tearing through me. Shame, a wild thrill I don't want to name, and something else, something like freedom, clawing its way to the surface. Mark and Travis follow close behind, their boots echoing with a steady, purposeful rhythm that feels almost clinical, like they've done this before, like this is just another task to check off. Their presence is a weight, a force I can't ignore, and yet there's a detachment in their movements, a cold efficiency that contrasts so sharply with the chaos inside me. I don't look back at the veranda, but I know Daniel is there. I can feel his eyes on me, a silent pressure that burns hotter than any touch. The door stays half open, a sliver of light cutting across the floor, and I hear the faint creak of his chair outside, a sound so small, yet so piercing in the stillness. Beyond that, the rustle of leaves in the breeze and the distant, rhythmic lapping of Lake Wisteria against the shore weave into the moment, grounding me in this surreal reality. My heart is a drum in my chest, each beat loud enough to drown out my thoughts, but my body, it's betraying me, responding in ways my mind screams against. Every brush of fabric, every shift of air, every breath I take feels amplified, like my senses are dialed up to a level I can't control. I'm caught in a current, pulled under by something primal, something I didn't know I had in me. I let go. I don't fight it anymore. There, on the uneven wooden floor, I surrender to the tide, letting it sweep me away. It's raw, unfiltered, a collision of need and restraint, of boundaries crossed in a way that's both shattering and strangely awakening. Mark and Travis move with a kind of measured intent, their hands steady, their voices low, guiding without emotion, as if they're merely fulfilling a role. But for me, it's a whirlwind, a storm of conflicting tides crashing inside. There's a heat, a closeness, an unspoken dance that unfolds with an intensity I can't put words to, a moment where I'm both lost and found, stripped bare in more ways than one. My breath comes in sharp, uneven gasps, my skin prickling with every sensation, every sound, their murmured instructions, the creak of the floor beneath us, the distant call of a bird outside. I'm hyper-aware of it all, and in that awareness, I feel a part of myself crack open, a hidden piece I've kept locked away for years, maybe forever. It's terrifying, exhilarating, and I let myself be consumed by it, riding the edge of something I can't name, but can't turn away from either. When it's over, I'm left breathless, sprawled on the cool, rough floor, my clothes a tangled mess around me. The wood presses against my back, a stark contrast to the heat still lingering on my skin, and I stare up at the ceiling, at the old beams crisscrossing above, trying to anchor myself back to reality. My chest heaves as I pull in air, each breath a struggle to steady the chaos still swirling in my mind. Mark and Travis step back, their movements casual now, almost indifferent as they adjust their uniforms with quick, practiced motions. I hear the rustle of fabric, the faint clink of a belt buckle, and then Mark mutters something about needing to head out soon, his tone flat, businesslike, as if what just happened was nothing more than a routine stop on their rounds. Travis doesn't speak, but I feel his gaze flicker over me briefly before he turns away, his silence heavier than any words could be. I don't move. I'm still on the floor, the rough wood digging into my skin as I try to piece myself back together. My hands tremble as I smooth down my tangled clothes, fingers brushing over fabric that feels foreign now, like it belongs to someone else. My hair is a mess, strands sticking to my damp forehead, and I push it back with a shaky breath, trying to reclaim some semblance of control. The air in the cabin feels thick, heavy with the aftermath of what just transpired, and I can still feel the echoes of sensation rippling through me, uninvited but undeniable. My mind is a storm, thoughts crashing against each other, but my body is still humming, alive in a way I don't want to admit. I hear the faint crunch of gravel outside, pulling me out of my haze. Through the half-open door, I see Mark and Travis gathering their gear near the edge of the veranda. They move with an ease that unsettles me, as if the weight of this moment doesn't touch them at all. Their boots scuff against the ground, kicking up small clouds of dust as they sling packs over their shoulders. Mark says something low to Travis, a murmur I can't catch, and Travis nods, his face as unreadable as ever. They don't look back at me, don't acknowledge the storm they've left in their wake. Instead, they start down the narrow path, their figures shrinking as they disappear into the dense wall of pine trees, swallowed by the forest without a word of goodbye. The sound of their steps fades, leaving behind a silence that feels louder than their presence ever did. I'm still sitting there, knees pulled up to my chest now, when I hear the slow, deliberate creak of the veranda floorboards outside. My heart stumbles, a jolt of dread mixing with something I can't name as I realize Daniel is moving. I brace myself, expecting, needing something to break this suffocating quiet. Anger, maybe. Accusations. Anything to make sense of the void between us. But when the screen door swings open with a soft groan, his footsteps are measured, almost careful, as he steps inside. I don't look up at first, can't bring myself to meet his eyes. I'm too raw, too exposed, like every layer of me has been peeled back and left bare for him to see. The floor creaks again as he approaches, and then he's there, lowering himself to kneel beside me. The air shifts with his nearness, carrying the familiar scent of him, clean, with a hint of the outdoors clinging to his skin. I flinch, expecting harsh words, but instead, his hand reaches out, tentative at first, then steady as his fingers brush through my hair. It's gentle, almost tender, a touch so unexpected that it steals the breath from my lungs. His hand lingers, smoothing a stray lock behind my ear, and I feel the warmth of him, the quiet strength in that simple gesture. I'm frozen, caught between the urge to pull away and the strange comfort of his closeness. Then he leans in, his breath warm against my ear, and his voice comes, low and soft, like a secret meant only for me. Now I've seen the real you. The words sink into me, slow and heavy, each one a stone dropped into the still waters of my mind, sending ripples I can't control. I turn my head, searching his eyes for something, anger, disgust, anything to anchor me, but there's nothing I expect. No judgment. Just a strange, quiet acceptance, like he's been waiting for this, like I've passed some unspoken test I didn't even know I was taking. I open my mouth to speak, to ask what he means, to demand an explanation, but the words won't come. They stick in my throat, tangled up with the confusion and vulnerability swirling inside me. So I just sit there, staring into his hazel eyes, feeling more exposed than I ever have, and not just because of what happened with Mark and Travis. It's deeper than that. A rawness that cuts to the core of who I am, or who I thought I was. Daniel doesn't push me to respond. He just watches me for, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.